everybody, welcome to the Heeltoe YouTube channel. I just got my HT Spec TSX pulled out of the garage. This TSX has been with me for a really long time, since about 2007 I want to say, and I've been working on it kind of consistently the whole time. Now that's been quite a number of years that I've been working on this car, but for the last, I don't know, 6 years or so, it's been down. I did some Instagram posts about it, and I haven't done much with it since. But given how much I have done to the car, I thought it would be a good idea to do a little recap video, catch up with where I'm at with it, and what all I've done for those of you who hadn't been able to follow it in the past. Also, I'm going to share with you some ideas of what I want to do with it going forward, and I'd love to hear your feedback down in the comments. So make sure you like this video if you want to hear more about this car, and definitely comment and let me know what you think about it, some of the mods I've done, if you have any questions about how I did anything, or if you have ideas of what you think I should do with it next. I'd love to hear it. But for now, like, the car looks great as it is. I just washed it the other day, and I'm feeling pretty high on it. So let's go check it out. Let me show you everything that I've got here, and yeah, get you up to speed. All right, where do we start? I think the best place to start is with the outside. You can see, first and foremost, this car is not a factory Acura TSX color. This is a 2004 Acura TSX. It's a 6-speed, non-navy, and they came in a few different colors that were all pretty cool, but they did not come in this color. So what I've done is I've repainted this car in sort of a color change paint job to Bordeaux Red Pearl. This color actually came on Hondas in the earlier 90s, the 90 to 97 Accord, the first generation Odyssey, 95 to 98 came in this color, and I think possibly a few other cars as well. And the reason why I painted it Bordeaux Red is, first of all, because I love the color, but back in the day I had a 1994 Accord 4-door that was Bordeaux Red, and I loved that car. Now, if you know your Honda Accord history, you know that the lineage of the Honda Accord was all basically the same vehicle, US and Japan, all the way up until about 1998. The CL1 chassis diverged away from the CG chassis Accord, and this car was a byproduct of continuing generation. The CL1 became the CL7, CL9, and so this car has actually got more of a direct connection with the CD chassis and the CB chassis Accords, and so that's why I felt it was kind of fitting to take this color and put it on this car. So anyway, that's why it's Bordeaux Red. The other thing you'll see, at the same time that I did the paint job, I installed this full Mugen aero kit. So we got the wing, that's a genuine part. We got the rear under spoiler, side skirts. These are all the 06 to 08 spec. So I did have to convert the rear bumper to 06 to 08 because this lip wouldn't fit on the 04 rear bumper. And I also did the full JDM front bumper, the Mugen front bumper, which is up in my rafters in the garage, because I took it off at some point when I put this voltage bumper on. So this is the Modulo voltage bumper. It was an accessory bumper available in Japan and maybe a few other markets as well. I always wanted one of these. I never was able to get my hands on one until a bunch of years ago, and that's when I did this conversion. The one that I got came with fog lights, but they were busted, so I'd kind of like to get fog lights for it. And the paint job that I had was not the greatest. You could see there's all kinds of white spots on here. That's because the underside, that's because the bumper originally came white and I had it painted. Well, the paint job that they didn't, you know, it wasn't the greatest. So anyway, it's the right color, but it's not necessarily the best paint job. Also, they blended it up into the fenders, and there's a little bit of poorer quality work there, which I need to get redone, but we will. So the other thing that I did at that time was I installed this J's Racing carbon hood. So this is carbon on the top, it's fiberglass on the underside, but it stood the test of time. I have had the clear coat refinished a couple of times, and it's starting to get all ugly again. I don't know what I'm going to do here. I think I might do like a partial paint on there. I have the original hood up in the garage, all painted, never been installed. I had thought about going back to just the factory hood, but I just love this look so much. This hood really gives a distinct and aggressive look to the front end. Also, Jay's Racing tow hook. That requires a JDM bumper support that I have behind there. And we have the tow hook in the back as well. So yeah, rounding out the other exterior bits, let's go to trim. These trims are the actual genuine Euro R trims. They have a black coating around them versus just the raw stainless that we get here in America. I have had them on here for quite some time. They've held up really pretty well, but something I realized was happening not that long ago was in the fall and in the spring, the sun is in the sky right over here and it reflects off that window and it starts cooking my cars. And what's done here is cause a little bit of melting on the covering here, which is really unhappy. I do not like that at all. And also on the other side, we're getting a little bit of distortion on them too, down here and here. So I really do need to replace these trims. I probably need to get on that sooner than later because they're probably going to get discontinued before too much longer. But this situation with the window is pretty bad. I mean, it's happening on this van too. You can see there's a little bit of distortion here as these things are basically melting from the reflection of that sun. In the wing here too. I mean, we just got this van and you can kind of see the waviness in the roof here, and it's all because of that window up there. These trims too, terrible. I'm pretty sure this is related to it also. So that pretty much sucks. But even from here, you can tell that the black trims on this car make a huge difference. Little piece of fact, in case you weren't aware, these are not covers. The B-pillar trims here are not plastic panels. This is actually a vinyl over the metal door frame. So if you ever have a problem with one of these, keep in mind that these don't pop off. It's actually part of the door. All right, continuing on, you notice the door handles are chrome. I took that as inspiration from the actual Euro R Accord, which came with dark chrome handles. I didn't have any access to dark chrome handles, and even if I did, they'd be right-hand versus left-hand drive. So I got these instead from Acura RDX. The RDX has the same basic door handle as the CL9, but they're all chrome instead of being painted with a chrome strip. Sometimes people ask me about converting this, how difficult it is. Honestly, it's pretty easy. There's just a little tumbler actuator here that when you pull on this, it moves. You just got to swap it from your TSX to this one, and with a little bit of just tinkering, you can get it done. I always just tell people, if you can get the door panel off on the inside, you can swap these over. So that's a pretty cool mod to do. I think it really kind of gives a different look to the car and complements the chrome badges in the back. You can see here that I've switched to Honda Accord badging. You know, it confuses some people, but us JDM folks know what's up. Yeah, I did Honda conversion on this at some point. I had all Acura badging on there before, but I switched it out to Honda just because. Let's see, what else have I done to the outside here? We got the wiper blades here. These are 06 to 08 wiper arms and blades. They have these aerodynamic style wipers on them, which if you have an 04, 05, you know that it's a little bit more of the high profile with the springs in them. These are a little more aero looking, a little bit cooler, so I changed those out. And the headlights. The headlights on this car are kind of an interesting story too. You can see that they look like JDM headlights, which they are. These are the 04, 05 JDM lights that have smoked corners in them versus the 06 to 08, which have the blue tinted corner lenses. But something you might not notice if you weren't really paying attention is that the turn signal here is clear. Now on the 04, 05 lamp, that's amber. And on 06 to 08, it's clear. And so what I've done is actually taken these lamps apart. I'm using 04 to 08 side markers in 06 to 08 housings. So these are actually 06, 08 JDM lamps, but I swapped from the blue to the smoked. And the reason why I did that was to kind of complement, make a more cohesive look with, you know, the gray wheels and the black trim, and and the carbon hood. I love the look of the blue lenses, but I just didn't think that they would tie with my car quite as much. And also I wanted to be original. But that's not the only thing with these. Some people also realize that the headlamps here are directional, right and left. If you have a left-hand drive car, the beam pattern is a little bit lower on the left side so you don't blind oncoming drivers. So even though they're JDM lamps, I swapped out the projectors and the cutoffs for USDM ones, the original ones that were in the car. So in reality here, I have one set of headlights that was made out of 3 sets. JDM 04 to 05, the JDM 06 to 08 to get the dark chrome housing and the clear blinker, and then of course the USDM projectors to give the right beam pattern. So a lot of work has gone into these headlights over time. I'm pretty proud of the fact that they're pretty original, and yeah, I just really like that. That's a lot of information on headlights, but you know, let's go back here to the rear. And you can see the taillights I have changed as well. So these backup lights are smoked. Now, the 04 to 05 TSX has smoked lenses back here on the Euro R, and so that's why I went with these. Also on the 06 to 08, they're smoked from the factory, but they have more of a radial pattern versus this crosshatch pattern. So I did have to get legit Euro R inner lamps for that. So I think exterior wise, that's rounding out most of what I've got going on here. I could talk about wheels, but I think I'm going to take you to the interior next because I've done a ton there too. Put a little bit of smoked film over these side markers in the mirrors as well. All right. Beep, beep, beep. All right, Honda, let's pull that out and give people a little tour of what's going on in here. So this car, let's see what's going on here. All right, what's special in here? I think the number one thing that jumps out is the seats. So these seats are the Recard SR6. These are reclinable, but very deeply bolstered seats. I got these from seller on Instagram, and he sold me on them. These are the most aggressive reclinable Recaros available at the time. And they are. When I sit in this, and I am not a wide person, it really does kind of hug in here. It keeps my shoulders in place here. And so when you're performance driving, there's one thing that'll really make you go faster, and that's if you can control the car better, and these seats really do it. They came with these bolster protectors to prevent wear. I'm really doing my best to lift myself over this huge bolster whenever I get in and out of the car. I think some wear and tear is going to be inevitable here, but you know, I'm doing my best. These seats have been really, really great. I've got PCI rails down there, so it's nice and low, but it's not too low. My sight line is just above the wheel here, so I can see pretty well with these seats in place. Speaking of the wheel, this is a CU2 steering wheel. So when the CU2 came out, I found a guy who was selling this steering wheel. It was bare, it didn't have any trim or anything like that, but he was selling this wheel for a really great price, and it was brand new basically. So I took him up on it, I bought it. A number of years later, I was able to come up with the trims and the buttons and this airbag cover with the H on it. I didn't really want to put it in unless I was doing the H conversion because, well, first of all, I didn't have an Acura airbag, and so I needed to make sure that it was going to match the rest of the badging. So finally I got that in. I do have most of this functions. Some of these radio ones don't function. The wiring was a little tricky to do, but you know, I'm still working on that, but mostly it works. Also, you'll notice that the interior is black, which in itself wouldn't be that special of a thing, except for this car came with a tan interior. Now, at one point I had done a half swap where I had gotten a bunch of black interior from a 06 model. I changed the dash, center console, all the door panels, all the plastic trims I had switched out to black, but it still had tan carpet and tan headliner and stuff. And then finally I was able to complete the conversion. I got a parts car that had all black interior, and then I was able to finish off and put, you know, the silver trims, the black carpet, and the gray headliner that's factory. So all of these bits I've replaced. I also deleted the airbags in here just to kind of like save a little bit of weight and stuff. And then I covered up the airbag light in there because, you know, between the seats and the pillars and all that, none of the airbags were going to do me any good anyway. So that's all deleted, but that's what I've done with the interior in terms of like the coverings. I also had done the same in the rear. Took out the airbags. I converted to the black leather seats. You know, these seats are in pretty good shape. I don't absolutely love them, but it's better than the tan was because that's what I had before. And along with that interior conversion, I did install this carbon rear floor brace, which is a really interesting piece. And I think people might have some questions about the functionality of this part, which I will get to in another post. It's really kind of an interesting thing when you brace the car across here, what it actually does for chassis rigidity. Also in the interior, I've got this hybrid racing shifter, which I kind of debate with myself whether a shifter and a shift knob is an interior part or drivetrain part. You know, it's obviously an interior part because it's in the interior, but it's a drivetrain part because it's got an actual function. But anyway, I've got that there, you can see it. I've done plenty of videos on these shifters. Even in this car, you can see when I was in the middle of the interior swap, I had done a shifter swap video showing all the specs on the different shifters that are available. So check that out on their channel as well. So I've also got some all-season mats here which say TSX. They conflict a little bit with these trims that say Accord on them, which is kind of a weird thing that maybe people don't completely notice, but the thing is I love these factory all-season mats and I won't change them, and I just don't really know where I'm going to get factory original all-season mats in left-hand drive that say Accord on them. Something I'm kind of looking out for, I guess. So in my last video, we emptied out my trunk. So to no surprise, there's nothing back here, except for this carbon trunk brace. This brace is extremely strong. It's tied in across this cross member underneath the seat and bolts into the floor of the car. These bolts go down into the frame. So this is an extremely strong bar and a great way to tighten up the whole rear end of the car. There's really no loss of cargo space, but if you want to put stuff in here, you're going to risk scratching it up. You can still get the tire out, although it is pretty tight. You can kind of yank on this and pull it out, but ultimately, I think I'm gambling a little bit more on I'm not going to have a flat, and if I do, I'm just going to have to deal with it. But anyway, it's a super cool part. After I get this vacuumed out and such, it'll be a great thing to show off at car shows and stuff. So that's pretty much everything on the exterior and on the interior of this car. There's obviously some performance stuff going on under the hood and in the suspension. But before I show you that, we're going to get it up on the lift. That way you can get a really good look around underneath the car. There's some interesting stuff going on there too, so stick with me and we'll check that out next. Car's in the garage on the lift, and now we're going to pop open the hood. I'm going to show you what's going on underneath here. Authentic J's Racing product, which is great. All right, here is the underhood of my TSX. It doesn't look like much, I know. There are some cool parts in here which you can tell right away. Obviously, the CT carbon icebox lid. This is something that isn't made anymore, or at least not currently. Heeltoe is making the CT intakes now. I haven't been able to get a hold of the mold that they use to make these lids, so unfortunately I've got to start all over again with these. A lot of people have been asking about getting carbon lids for CT intakes. It is on my radar, but we haven't gotten there yet. I do have a RRC manifold installed here, as opposed to the RBC, which is really popular. The RRC provides a better balance of power, high and low. The RBC is known to give up a little low end power, and I didn't want to do that. So we're going RRC here. And it's connected with this Samco Euro R spec intake hose. So the Euro R uses an RBC manifold and the same airbox. So JDM Euro R or the Samco hose is actually able to be installed to mate the throttle body and the ice box together after the throttle body changes location when you put this RRC manifold in. So we've got that. Unorthodox Racing pulley set. It's a 3-pulley set. We got power steering, alternator, and crankshaft underdrive pulley down there. Those pulleys will lighten the powertrain rotational mass, and basically you get a little bit better engine response, a little bit more power from underdriving these accessories. So it's a pretty cool mod. Again, I don't even think that these power steering pulleys are still available. So kind of a cool setup right there. Got this old Fastline Performance carbon plug cover. The heat has kind of gotten to the epoxy, so it's not looking the greatest these days, but that was our attempt to basically redo what was the Mugen carbon cover, and came out pretty nice. Actually lasted really long for, you know, it looked really good for a long time, but now not looking so great. So basically this whole engine situation needs to be freshened up. You know, we're a little dirty and there's not much glitz and glamour. It's black in here. You can see the frame rails and stuff are black. So when I did the color change on this car, one of the things I didn't do is I didn't paint the engine bay. And it just seemed like that was gonna really catapult the project into something that was gonna make it difficult to do. So I didn't do that. But we did install this Alitech tower brace. This is kind of a semi-slept-on part. It's a really great brand, Alitech. I've been selling these for a number of years. They make this brace that fits in conjunction with the factory brace. So it's a nice overall package. It's a very strong brace and it looks great. I've got an innovative engine mount here. I had innovative mounts on the front and the rear also, but we later upgraded to Fastline Performance mounts after I got tired of dealing with the noise and vibration that come from the polyurethane. I actually have a factory mount that I'm going to put here to continue to try to soften up the powertrain intrusion into the cabin. It can be pretty annoying, especially on these 4-cylinder cars. I'm looking for other things that I've done here, and there really isn't much. You know, it's factory master cylinder. I had an Ingalls engine torque damper on here for a little while, but I don't right now. I've done the power steering recall, but largely that's it in the engine bay. And the powertrain is stock. There's really not a whole lot to say here, which is part of, I think, my problem, is that the engine bay on this car, you know, obviously it's OEM, there's nothing wrong with it, but it just doesn't fit the outside, does it? I mean, the outside of the car looks fantastic. Pop up in the engine bay, you're hoping to see something cool, and it's like, you don't. So yeah, the engine bay, it's a little bit lackluster. I've got to do some stuff here. I've got some ideas. Maybe you've got some suggestions. Go ahead and leave them below. For now, I'm going to raise the car. Let's look underneath. There's some stuff going on underneath the car that's kind of interesting. Shout out to Bend Pack. These lifts are awesome. I've got two. I've got the 4-post back there and this 2-post service lift. Really is a game changer. All right, the naughty underbits. What's going on down here? There's a few things. But let's start from the powertrain, since that's kind of where we left off. So you'll notice we've got, you know, this is the original transmission case, magnesium. I've got some corrosion on here, which is really unfortunate. The engine block as well. Man, I took this car on one trip up to British Columbia, and it snowed on me on the way back, and whatever road salt was there just destroyed the look of the engine here. And I'm really kind of annoyed by that, because this thing was beautiful. I had the transmission out, rebuilt it, new clutch, everything was clean and beautiful, and now it looks like crap. So I kind of want to go in here and refinish all this. But you can see I've got a header. This is the CT Engineering or Comtech header. I like this one because it fits with the original converter. No, I don't have a test pipe in here. It's the original cat, and I'm fine with that for now. I do have high flow cats from Fastline. I probably will change that at some point, but it just really haven't been like horsepower hungry with this car yet. So like that hasn't been a big deal. Yeah, so in here we've got an Osco aluminum flywheel, and we've got a clutch from ClutchNet, which is basically a clutch manufacturer that used to be in Southern California. They took the factory AP clutch that comes in the TSX, beefed it up with a stronger pressure plate, and so I've got that running with my TSX OE replacement aluminum flywheel from Osco. And it's very responsive, the car drives great. It's a rigid hub disc, so it's very direct feeling, and makes the drivetrain pretty sporty and drives aggressively even though it's still smooth, and takes off nice and shifts pretty nice. We've got chassis braces down here, but before I get on those, let's talk about this exhaust system. This is a Jays Racing titanium 60RS, so I want to remember that it's called. Yeah, 60RS, and full titanium. This exhaust system, when it came out, was $2,800, and I got this exhaust for a customer. It took like, I don't know, a year to get it. And in the time that it took for them to wait for it, they went to jail for some reason. I don't know why, but anyways, I was stuck with the exhaust system after it had come in. I couldn't cancel it, so I figured instead of just trying to offload it, why don't I just try using it? And you know what? I got to tell you, I love it. It doesn't sound too loud. It's very, very lightweight, and it just sounds great. It's been very durable, and I mean, the fabrication on it is beautiful. I really can't complain about it at all. If I wanted to get another one, I'm really not sure how much it would cost or how long it would take, but I'm pretty stoked on it, so we're running it. I recently had all high-tech exhaust from the header back, header cat, and cat back. I took it off. It was a little louder than this one and didn't quite have the cool look that this has. I loved the high-tech setup, especially the header. It was a very high-performing part, but I think I'm just going to run this for now. Maybe a different header and cat combination as time goes by, but that's what we got. So sort of protecting the exhaust are these side sill braces. These braces are from Ultra Racing. They go obviously the whole length of the frame. They attach through factory bolt holes all along here. It comes with special hardware to mount it in place. And you can see these have been on the car for a very long time, and they scrape the ground a little bit here and there, but they've done a really great job of protecting the underbody of the car. It's like these will scrape along, you know, speed bumps or whatever before the car will. But the strength that they provide is unbelievable. As soon as you pull out of the driveway, you can tell that the car is more rigid with these side sill braces in place. And we do sell these. Only people in the know kind of look for them. But to be perfectly honest, anybody who's like a static guy or looking for performance probably should consider having these, because they work fantastic and they actually are pretty decent value too. Also, we have this Alutech 4-point brace. Cusco makes one as well. I used to have the Cusco one. I've got this Alutech one now just because it's what I had at the time when this one got put on the car. And it ties together this big opening in the subframe that makes hole for the exhaust system and ties that with the body. It again tightens up the chassis, makes it feel a lot more rigid. We've got this middle brace, which is sort of a bonus brace, I guess. I don't know how effective this one really is, but I mean, I guess when I think of chassis bracing, I think more is generally better. There's really kind of hard to go wrong with strengthening the chassis. This may be a little bit redundant with that interior brace that I've got inside there, but at the end of the day, it's just another thing to throw up in here and make the thing more rigid. Speaking of rigid, I also have rigid collar bushings here, but I have factory sway bars. I've never upgraded the sway bars on this car. They're the factory original ones. and I just really haven't had a huge need to upgrade them, probably until now. I mean, I'm kind of getting to the place now where I'd like to upgrade this rear one especially. I mean, look at how puny it is. I think it's like a 15 millimeter bar. Probably going to go with a Progress 22 millimeter bar instead, just to kind of get a little bit more roll resistance in the back. Continuing on with the suspension, you'll see I've got these Tane coilovers in here. Now, it's kind of interesting. I don't know if you can see the label on there. It's like these coilovers. I think I'm probably going to pull a wheel off and show you a little bit more detail of those. But those are custom built Tanes. Yeah, let me pull a wheel off so we can look at those in more detail. All right, let's pull off this wheel here. And let me tell you about these wheels really quick. These are Desmond Ragamaster Evo 2s. So the Desmond Ragamasters were a wheel that was very popular in the late 90s and early 2000s. Spoon made a version of this wheel that was the SW388. But then they went, you know, wherever. They were made in Russia. They went out of business or whatever it was. And ICB came around and started making these again in Japan. Foundry in Japan started producing these again. And it's such a great look. I mean, this wheel has everything. It checks every box. It's a 5-spoke, which is obviously performance-y. It's got a very deep hub here, so it looks aggressive on the inside here. The spoke design is pretty flat. It doesn't curve in very much. It leaves a lot of room for brakes. So these are great wheels for brake clearance, but then also they kind of cut in here and create this kind of a deep lip, even though this isn't a very, you know, this is a high pad wheel, which means it doesn't have a lot of offset. These wheels are, let's see, I think the spec on this thing is not printed back here. I'm not sure. I'll have to follow up with you. I'll probably put it back in the comments. But yeah, it's an 18-inch wheel, 18 by 9.5, I want to say. And I want to say the offset is probably 38. I'm just going to go ahead and go with that for now. But at the end of the day, it's not a very high offset. I mean, it's not a very low offset, but it still has a pretty good lip on it. So it's a great wheel, like really fantastic. Now they came in a gray, Almighty Gray 2, or New Almighty Gray, which I wanted to gray with the red, but when I put the wheels on the car, they looked green. The New Almighty Gray has kind of a green tint to it, and it just was not working. So I had to have these refinished. I had them refinished in this kind of like gunmetal color. I forget what it's called, but they painted them for me and powder coated them clear so that they would be nice and durable. I have them installed with these SSR forged lug nuts. These things are amazing. They're not cheap, but they're very light, and they come with a lock too. So there you go. Anyway, that's the wheel setup. Tires, I got Falken Tires FK 510s for all-around performance, decent use in all weather. You know, we live in Oregon, so they gotta last. I like showing up to the track and running what I have, you know, and I don't have to change out wheels and tires to get performance at the track. The wheel size, the tire size here is 245, 40, 18. So 245s, that's pretty aggressive for front-wheel drive sedan. I also don't have to change my brakes. Got these endless brakes here. This kit has been on here for ages and ages. This is another thing that I had gotten for a customer, but then he parted his car out. I bought back most of the stuff that he had on there, and one of the things that was these brakes. Those in the know, Endless brakes are pretty expensive. They work amazing. I mean, Endless is an F1 supplier, so no doubt about it, these things work. They're not noisy. I don't know, I can't say enough good stuff about them, and I'm really glad to have them. Although I'm thinking about changing out the brakes to something else at some point, so watch out. Maybe they'll end up being for sale. We're going to need a little light for the rest here. Hopefully this doesn't strobe too much for you. So suspension, I've got these Tane coilovers in here, and you'll see that there's no labeling on them of what they are. You can kind of see here, A64, the label on there used to say Flex, right? So this suspension kit is an old Flex damper. Now, if you've just been kind of getting into the Tane suspension stuff, you've heard of probably the Flex Z. but you may or may not have heard of the Street Flex. The Street Flex is what came before the Flex Z, and the Street Flex was actually an evolution from the original Flex. The original Tane Flex had was more of a performance suspension than the Flex Z is. You can see here there's pillow ball upper mount, which the Street Flex and the Flex Z have rubber upper mounts. This is a little bit shorter stroke suspension, and the spring rates are a little bit higher. So the Flex was made to go more towards the track than the Street Flex and the Flex Z. But Tane, at the time, they were finding that more people were wanting the full length adjustment that you see here on the street. So they softened up the Flex Z and they made it into the Street Flex. Well, this suspension kit is the very first Flex kit that they were testing the Street Flex valving on. So Heeltoe's been a vendor for Tane for a very, very long time, and when they wanted to test out the valving to see how the Street Flex would work on the TSX, they took my Flex kit and then they built a custom valved set with Street Flex valving in it. So basically what this is it's a Flex kit with Street Flex valving. And what does that translate to today? Basically the Flex Z took the Street Flex and then they mass produce it in non-rebuildable shells. So these dampers are able to be torn down and overhauled with new seals and all that stuff. The Flex Z is not. So that's what these coilovers are, kind of a convoluted thing, but I think kind of cool. We got Fastline performance brake lines, we got the CU2 upper control arms, and in the down here, these are the factory original control arms. You can see the bushings are kind of getting a little bit tired. Also, I do have these PCI spherical bushings, which these are now Fastline bushings. We sell these. PCI made these for me because I wanted to have, you know, more performance suspension bushings. They make spherical bushings for the suspension, but they didn't make them for the TSX. So I got them to make them for me, and now we make them. He kind of handed the product over to us to produce them. So these are available on the website too. I think these are a fantastic part. Even on the street, these have been in my car for a very long time. I'm going to say I've had these in here for at least 15 years. I've never serviced them. I've never lubricated them. I've never done anything with them. And even with this like corrosion that you've seen happen on my transmission case, no such case with the bushings. Now I am getting a little bit of a knock somewhere in my suspension. It might be related to those. I'm really not sure. They could be time to be serviced, but I got to tell you guys, if you're thinking about these spherical bushings for your car, don't think twice. Just get them. The steering feel is amazing. The car handles just like very sharply. I can't say enough good things about these. Yeah, you'll get a little bit more harshness on impacts and stuff, but I just keep the other bushings rubber, and there's enough compliance there that every day it rides good. So that's a lot on the front suspension there. Custom Tane suspension, which is probably in need of a rebuild. We've got those control arms. Now, a lot of people say these control arms are no good. They slide or whatever. Honestly, dude, these have never come loose on me. Only one time after I got an alignment, the alignment shop didn't tighten them enough. But I've never had a problem with these things coming loose. So if people say that these CU2 arms are no good, I'm just not finding it to be true. These have lasted a really, really long time. I've had these in here probably as long as these compliance bushings for, 40, 50,000 miles, I would say is a safe estimate. And I've only changed the ball joints once, and honestly, it was preventative. I didn't even need to when I did. So install your stuff right, torque it properly, you don't have problems. I don't know what to tell you other than that. The car is not extremely low. You see, I'm not really getting any hitting up in the chassis there. Some people do. I mean, if you're installing your parts so that they hit other parts, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's part of your problem. But anyway, I'm pretty happy with how this suspension works. All right, now we're back here at the rear wheel. There's really not a whole lot to talk about here. Obviously the same setup as in the front in terms of the wheel. The brakes are fast brakes, caliper relocation bracket. So this is using the Pilot MDX rotor just to increase the size of the rear rotor. I think the pads I have in here, probably some Hawk, I think they're Hawk HPS is probably what it is. Yeah, maybe they're racing brake, PD 537s. The rear pads are probably due to be changed here. And you can see again the custom labeling on that Tane coilover back there. It's kind of a no name, but Street Flex A. I don't know what that means, but anyway, Tane built the coilovers. All right, well that's pretty much everything on the car. I probably missed something here or there, but I just want to take a minute and show you some of the stuff that is probably going to end up being next on this car. Go back and watch the video where I emptied out the trunk, and you'll see some of the parts in there. I have some items for a sort of a freshen up of the engine bay, the valve cover, spark plug gasket or spark plug cover, stuff like that. But I wanted to show you something else cool up in this cabinet. I have in here, oops, not this cabinet. That's all CRX stuff. Let's look in this cabinet. Oh yeah, there we go. That is CT Engineering supercharger with the carbon plug cover and everything. Got the manifold up here and the belt, all the parts for the CT supercharger kit up in this cabinet. So I believe I'm going to be supercharging this car in part of a whole like redo of the engine bay and give it a little bit more power and stuff. This kit is pretty cool. I sold this to a customer. He ended up crashing the car, parted it out, and he let me take the supercharger back. So it's pretty neat. I got the original box and everything over here, you know, and it's got the labeling on it from when I shipped it to him. Yeah, so it went from CT Engineering to Heeltoe in Mission Viejo, California back in 2010. So I sold this supercharger kit to a customer in 2010, and now he gave it back to me. He gave me the opportunity to take it back, and I really kind of feel like obligated to put it on my car, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think over winter I'm gonna go here and redo all this stuff, make it really nice, probably drop the engine out, clean everything up, clean it up, better fuel rail. Just there's so many opportunities to make this car better that I want to do that and really honor it more in that way. Get it out, drive it more, all that stuff. Also, something that I have that I didn't mention is the Honda Flash Pro for tuning. I mean, there's more going on here. I got to change my sunroof shade. You might have seen when I was looking on the interior, the sunroof shade was tan as part of my conversion of the interior. I didn't change that part, but I got one now. Shout out to Eric Brockway for hooking me up with that. The engine mounts, I'm going to explain more about those in a new video coming up very shortly. But yeah, that's my TSX. So that's a lot of work I've done to this car. I think it looks great. I'm very proud of it. I love the TSX platform. I always have. And I'm hoping that you either learned a little bit more about why the TSX is good or a little bit more about my own car here. I've got more work to do to it. So come along with me for the ride. We're going to keep making videos about this. Share some ideas with me. If you would like to see something, learn more about one of the parts I have on here, whatever, I can tell you all about it. I've been dealing with TSXs since they were new. That's 2004. Have I been a TSX sort of specialist. But like I said, been out of the game for a little while. And this car, I'm going to really try to work on getting back in front of it. You've probably seen some other cars in the background of this video, plus my garage. We got content covering all this stuff coming up, whereas I'm consistently trying to make videos to share my car life with you guys and inspire you to heel toe in the next corner for yourself. In the meantime, heel toe's in your corner online in our store. Find a coupon down below in the description to save money on some of these parts for your own build. Have a fantastic day. Thanks again for watching.